7 times Jada embarrassed Will Smith. If there's one celebrity that's dominating the world right now, it's Will Smith. And it's not because he just won Best Actor for his role in King Richard. Yeah, I'm obviously talking about the incredible events at the Oscar ceremony. The slap that was heard around the world. In what seemed like a desperate attempt to defend his wife's honor, Will Smith jumped on stage and slapped Chris Rock, earning him eternal banishment on the internet, in addition to a 10-year ban from the legendary award show. The slap was a pretty big deal on its own, but what made it such a massive pop culture moment is the context of Will and Jada's relationship. The two of them have been known to have a particularly rocky marriage, with many fans pointing the finger at Jada for causing most of the issues between them. For Will to jump to her defense at the Oscars after what many perceived as years of toxicity was baffling. One thing is sure, Jada has publicly embarrassed Will multiple times in the past. Whether she was doing so intentionally or not is up to you. Before we start the video though, make sure to click that like button and subscribe to our channel. Now, here are 7 times that Jada embarrassed Will Smith. Number 7, wishes they were swingers. No matter how you feel about the relationship between Will and Jada, you have to admit that they have had some pretty rocky times. If you go back just a few years ago, most of the things that we know to be true about them were just rumors. Tabloids published gossip about the two stars seeing other people while staying married to one another, and this ballooned into the idea that Will and Jada were swingers. Jada ended up confronting the scandal head on when she appeared on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen. In a segment where those watching called in to ask Jada questions, one fan asked her, quote, "What is the craziest rumor you have ever heard about your family?" After thinking about it for a moment, she responded that Will and I are swingers. But after saying that the swinger rumors were constant, she added, "I wish," to essentially imply that you want to see other men other than your husband while on live TV is rough enough already, but it's even harder to watch with the knowledge that we have now. Of course, Jada did speak glowingly of the chemistry between her and Will shortly afterwards, but it's still definitely an embarrassing moment. Just imagine how Will felt after he saw this clip. Number 6, forcing Will to be on IG Live. In the wake of the Chris Rock slap, a lot of people have gone back to reevaluate certain publicized moments from Will and Jada's marriage. One of these moments is a clip from when Jada went live on Instagram sometime around 2019. In it, she begins talking about her and Will's marriage counselor, and then suddenly turns the camera to Will to get his opinion. This is when things get really awkward. After pointing the phone at him, she asks, "Would you say that she has been instrumental in you and I redefining our relationship?" Will looks incredibly uncomfortable and calmly responds, "I would say just don't start filming without asking me if you can film me." Jada, completely missing the point, then keeps trying to record him and get a response from him. Will turns away and continues asking her to stop. At which point, she exasperatedly asked her marriage counselor to return and help her since she is dealing with Will's, in her words, foolishness. The recording ends with Jada saying, quote, "She has helped us a lot. Can't you tell?" This just brought more attention to how uncomfortable the interaction was. Filming someone without their permission and then continuing to do it after they ask you to stop is pretty immature. Number 5, talking about their intimacy issues. For those that don't know, one of Jada's main endeavors is a podcast called Red Table Talk. She hosts the show with her mother and daughter, and the general concept is having extremely open conversations that quite literally span the gap between generations. She never shies away from sharing very personal details, and she will talk about both her family and her marriage on the podcast episodes. One episode in particular found her receiving a lot of flack. When she had Gwyneth Paltrow on the show, the two celebs started chatting about intimacy. When it came to Jada's turn to talk about her and Will's love life, she wasn't afraid to bring up some issues that they had had. Specifically, she talked about how she used to expect Will to read her mind and figure out everything she liked in the bedroom. She candidly said, quote, "I think you expect your partner to know what you need, especially when it comes to sex." Of course, the implication here was that Will was unable to figure out what pleased her and that she wasn't being satisfied when she was with him. However, she was probably trying to highlight a common mistake. She likely meant that no one should ever expect their partner to read their mind. Still, since Will wasn't there, it ended up being a bit shady. And as you probably guessed, the reaction on Twitter was pretty immediate. Cue the memes with Jada Jada's head on Future's body. Number 4, mocking a party Will threw. When Jada had her 37th birthday, Will got a bright idea. He would throw his wife an absolutely massive 40th birthday party. He hired a team to make it happen, and he then spent the next 3 years planning it. He got a documentary team to film it, booked Mary J. Blige to perform, and even traced her family roots. In Will's words, it was going to be the thing that lifted her out of this midlife crisis. It was going to be his deepest and most beautiful proclamation of love. But things didn't pan out that way. In fact, Jada absolutely hated the party, despite all the effort that he put into it. To her, it was the most ridiculous display of his ego. When she told him this, he was devastated, and it led him into a depression that he called his low point. The story of the party didn't end there, though, as Will and Jada later recounted the incident on an episode of Red Table Talk, and it was clear that she still felt embarrassed talking about it publicly. It's a difficult watch. In Jada's defense, it seems like she was pretty clear about not wanting a party like the one Will had planned for her, but to take him down after he worked so hard to make her happy is definitely pretty vicious, and making him recount the embarrassment on her talk show only adds insult to injury. Number 3, her feelings for Tupac. Although Jada and Will had been together since they were both quite young, it's not the first serious relationship that either of them were in. In fact, Will was married to his first wife, Cherie Zampino, when he and Jada first met, and Jada was in an iconic yet supposedly platonic relationship with Tupac Shakur before Will. Regardless of whether they actually acted on their feelings for one another, the whole basically knew that Jada and Tupac were in love. Even Will couldn't deny it, later writing in his memoir that, quote, their love for each other was legendary, and that he was tortured by it. But it's not just her feelings for Tupac before she and Will met that were a source of turmoil for him. Depending on who you ask, Jada has never stopped loving Tupac, and she continues to make references to him to this day. In 2012, for instance, Jada tweeted out a photo of Tupac embracing and kissing her. The caption read, I miss him. If this wasn't embarrassing enough for Will, there is also a letter that his daughter Willow wrote to Tupac. When she was a kid, she penned a letter saying that she knows Tupac is still alive. It also read, quote, can you please come back so mommy and me can be happy? And I think that my mommy really misses you. Whatever Jada and Pac's relationship was, it certainly seems like she's not over it. Number 2, the entanglement. You can't make a video about Jada and Will without mentioning the most infamous moment of their entire relationship. Although we all probably know about this one at this point, let's trace the history of it from the beginning. It really all began after the failed 40th birthday party that Will planned for Jada. After that happened, Jada started to feel more and more distant from Will, and some serious problems began to develop between the two of them. A few years later, Jada met singer August Alsina at the 2015 Wireless Festival. He was a friend of her son Jaden, so they got to talking. And then things got complicated. Rumors about Jada and Will divorcing start to spread, and Jada shows up to the BET Awards with August in 2017. Then in 2020, August spills the beans and states that he and Jada were in a relationship for years with Will's blessing. Although Jada tried to deny it at first, it all became clear. She was in a long and serious relationship with her son's friend, August Alsina, while married to Will. This is definitely the biggest thing people point to when talking about Jada embarrassing Will. But it is likely that Will was also dating other people when Jada was with August. The main difference is how the internet treated the situations. Once the entanglement was revealed, Will was looked at as pathetic, whether they had an open relationship or not. Number 1, bringing Will on her podcast. The craziest episode of Red Table Talk, Jada's show, is definitely when she brought Will on so she could publicly address their relationship. It was advertised by Jada as an opportunity for the couple to heal after all the rumors and heartache, but it seemed like only one of the two was doing any healing. Will, for his part, looked absolutely crushed throughout the whole thing. The whole episode has gone viral at this point, and that's in large part thanks to Will's facial expressions throughout it. As Jada discusses her relationship with Austin and the difficulties of their marriage, Will seems to stare off into the distance. his words are shaky, and it seems like it's hard for him to hold his emotions together. This started a series of sad Will memes that are still pretty popular to this day. The podcast episode pretty much cemented Will's reputation as an unhappy participant in his own marriage. While Jada seemed confident and happy to have the talk, Will just looked miserable and embarrassed. Although they might be perfectly happy behind closed doors, most viewers took the episode as just another example of Jada humiliating Will, and Will just submitting to the whole thing. So what do you think of Will and Jada's relationship? Do you think that she's purposefully embarrassing him? Or do they just have a complicated and misunderstood marriage? Let me know in the comments. And before you leave, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to this channel.